Okay. Um, First of all, we're going to talk about the demand types. Um, we can create w- we can create a lot of demand types. For example, we have buy, sell, other. So these are demand types. Um, but for buy and sell, there is special cases. As you can see here, we have default fields for buy and default fields for sell, and then for other type of demands, we don't have any default fields. So, for example, uh, in buy, we have a default field of minimum budget and maximum budget. For example, when you want to buy a house, you should add your minimum budget and maximum budget. For sell, we have a default field of minimum price. So, for example, when you want to sell a house, you have to put the minimum price that you want to sell the house for. And for other demand types, we don't need any default field. So, this is only for the buy and sell. And then all of the demand types share and options. So, for example, uh, you can add time frame options, you can add room count options, and you can add the same option for multiple types. So, for example, you can use room count and buy and room count and sell, and you can use, for example, random options for the last type. And what we will do in this video is this following things. We're gonna start from step one, which is we will create a demand type. We will create four demand types: by house, by land, sell house, and random type. So these types we will create them now to demonstrate how the demand module works. And then step two is create type fields. So, for example, we create a minimum budget and maximum budget for the buy type, and minimum price for the sell type, and time frame, room count, and random options for the other types. And step three, we will assign these fields to the types. So we will assign, I will show you in the video, but like this is going to be step three. Step four is going to be creating type options. So for example, now I have a time frame, a room count, and the random options. So we will create, for example, room count one, room count two, room count three, and so on. And that's it. Okay, so first of all, we're going to create demand types. So let's start with by house. We will go to your website and then to the demand module. When you go to the demand module, you will go to types and new type. In here, you will create, you will write your inquiry, and then let's say, for example, we want to buy inquiry. Inquiry type is what you want to buy. For example, let's say house. And then the type slug. The type slug should um, this type slug is important. So for now, let's just write buy house. It should be uh, your inquiry and your inquiry type separated by an underscore. So let's say buy and then house. Then you will upload your inquiry logo. For example, we will upload a house. So let's add a house photo. And then the description, if you want to describe what this inquiry type is, we can leave it empty for now. So we will create it. We will create it by pressing save. Okay, so now we have, if we go to type, we have by house type. Now we created the first type, which is by house. Now we will create by land and sell house and random type. So new type, and it's gonna be by land. So we're gonna write by and then land, and then this should be, as I said, uh, the first and the second, the inquiry and the inquiry type. Now, why is this important? Because when you create a buy house or buy land or let's say buy hotel or like whatever buy you write, this should be the exact same in all of them. So the first one we created is buy house, and we added buy as the first portion of the slug. So when we create a buy land, or for example, let's say buy hotel or whatever buy you want, it should be the same. So the first section should be the same. That's why I added buy here. And then the second section is not really important. It just describes what the inquiry type is. So this portion is important. It should be the same for all of the buy types. So I used buy land, and we can upload a land. Let's say this one, for example. And then save and create. Let's create a new one, which is going to be sell house. So I'm going to write sell house and then sell house. Now this one we didn't add buy because this is not buy, this is another inquiry. So the first two inquiries that we created, buy house and buy land, should be the same, but for sell house, for example, it shouldn't be the same because this one is sell and this one is buy. So I'm just gonna leave it sell house like this, and then upload. You can upload whatever image you want, but let's make it like this, and then we will create the last demand type, which is random type. So we can just say random and then type, and then here we will add random type, and let's just upload a random, let's say like this, and then save. Now when we check our types, you can check that we have buy house, buy land, and then sell house and random type. Okay, so buy house and buy land, since they both are the same inquiry, they, as I said, they should start with the same slug, same portion of slug, which is buy. Alright, for step 2 we're gonna create type fields. So we're gonna create all these fields, and I will show you how. You will go to the demand module, and then you will go to fields, and then create a new field, and you're gonna select the field type you want to create. So for our example, we create a minimum budget and a maximum budget and a minimum price and a time frame, and the room count and the random options. So minimum budget and maximum budget and minimum price, they are all text, so I will add just text, and let's say it's minimum budget, and we will save and create a new one, which is going to be the maximum budget. So let's say text, and we can write maximum budget, and then we will have another text which is going to be the minimum price. So minimum price. Now next we have time frame. Now time frame, room count, and random options, they are all options. So they're, when you want to create an option, you should add a type of relationship. So you will select relationship, and you will add, for example, time frame, and then you can collect for related string. Now this is required, so you have to select the options. So when you go to demand, you will see options, you will select it, so demand and then options, and then save and create. So we will create room count next, so we will select relationship, and we can write room count, and we can select the same thing, options. And lastly we have random options, so we'll just do the same thing we did. We close it, random options. random options, and it's related to the options. Then save. Now let's check our fields. Alright, so we created a maximum budget text, minimum budget text, minimum price text, and then for these options we selected relationship, relationship, relationship. Alright, so next step is assigning the fields. So the fields that we created, we will go ahead and assign them to our demand type that we created in the first step. So we will go to types, and let's start with by house. So you will click on assignments and assign fields. Now for by house, we have a minimum budget, which I told you it's going to be the default. As you can see, default field, minimum budget and maximum budget. Alright, so let's say minimum budget. And then save and create for maximum budget. And let's just say maximum budget. And then we will create a, let's say a time frame and a room count. Alright, so let's say time frame and a room count. Save. Now you can see that for by house we have minimum budget, maximum budget, time frame, and room count. We're gonna do the same for by land. So as you can see, assignments, assign fields, minimum budget. So I'm gonna just write minimum budget, and we're gonna select maximum budget. And then time frame, and lastly room count. Or actually we don't need room count for the land, so I'm just gonna leave it empty. Next we're gonna go to sell house, and for sell we have a default option of minimum price, so we're gonna add that. So minimum price, and let's just say room count, and we can add time frame as well. So time frame, or we can just add room count. If you want to add others, you can, but for this tutorial we're not gonna add. So we have minimum price and room count. Alright, so next we're gonna go ahead to sell house, or actually we finished sell house, right? Yeah, we finished sell house. So now next we're gonna go to random type, and let's say we want to assign it to only our random options. So I'm gonna get my random options, and let's just create random options. Alright, let's go to types. Now we have our fields assigned to each of our types. Okay, so for the last step, we're going to create type options. So if we check our website after we did all of the steps, you can see that we have buy, sell, and random. Now buy have buy house and buy land, and then for sell we have sell a house, and then for random we have just a random type. For now we don't have anything. Like if you create select the city, that's it. This is the last step. So we're gonna go ahead and add options. So to add an option, we can add time frame options for time frame, and options for room count, and then options for the random options. So I will go to options and create a new option. So let's say this option is for the time frame, And now, which like this option is going to be for which type. So for example, we want time frame to be for buy house and buy land and for sell house. So what I will do is buy house, buy land, and sell house. We don't need it for random type for now. If you want, you can add it, of course. If you want, you can remove it, but for now we need it only for these three types. So I will add an option. Let's say I want to add from 1 to 3 months. Okay, so I will add 1 to 3, and the option name is going to be 1 to 3 months, and then add another option, which is going to be, let's say we have 4 to 6 months, and then we have 4 to 6 months, and then you can add the step you want. So what will the step do? If you check here, when you click on buy, this is the first step. When you click house, this is the second step. When you click continue, this is the third step. So if you want to add your option to the third step, which is what we want, because the first step is selecting, the second step is going to be selecting a city, and then the third step we wanted to add it right here. So I'm going to write third step, and then save and create a new option for room count. So I will just write room count, and I will add room count for buy house and sell house. We don't need it for land because land doesn't have room. So buy house and sell land, we're gonna add option. So the first option is gonna, let's say we have 1 to 2 rooms. So I will add 1 to 2 rooms and add another option, upload 3 to 4 rooms, for example. So I will add 3 to 4 rooms. And then the step. Now we're not gonna add the third step here because the third step is taken by the time frame. So what is the next after the third step? It's gonna be the fourth step. So I'm gonna add 4, and then save. And then the last option is random options. So I will just add random options. So new option, and then let's call it random options. Then we're gonna relate it to the random type. We only want it in the random type. So I will add a row, and let's say random 1, and let's upload a random photo. Let's say this photo, for example. Select and add another random option. Let's say it's going to be random 2, and we can add just a random option logo, and then let's add another random option. Let's say random 3, and upload a random photo. And then we can select the step. Now we in the random we only have the first step, second step, and then the third is the last step. So we can add it to the third step, and then save. Okay, so after creating the last option for the options for the random options, we chose step 3, as you can see lastly. And now let's reload the page and check our options. So for buy land, buy house first, we chose time frame as the third option. So if we check, so this is the second option. When we go to the third option, you can see time frame. Fourth option, we selected room count. So you will see room count and then the minimum budget and maximum budget, which are the default fields. And then this is the last step, is fill up your information. So when we check buy land, it's going to have the same time frame, but it's not going to have room count because we didn't select room count for it. So you can see time frame, but we don't have room count. And then minimum budget and maximum budget are for the by type. Now when we check cell type, we can see cell house that we added, and then we have time frame and room count options as well. And then we have minimum price, which is the default for cell. Next we have random, the random type. So when we select random and then type, we didn't add the time frame or the room count options for the random type. We only added the random options. So when we go to the third step, you can see my random options. And since it's not buy and it's not sell, we don't have the minimum price or the minimum budget step in the random type. So you'll fill up your information and then apply. And then this is how it will work. So let's create a new demand. For example, let's create a random or let's say we want to buy a house, and you can select the city that you want. So let's say this information and then continue, and we want the time frame to be from 1 to 3 months, and then 1 to 2 rooms, and then minimum budget, let's say we have 12,000 for example, and the maximum budget is 100,000. We will continue and we'll fill up your information. Let's say test dev, and put your email address and then phone number. And then I read and accept and then apply.